afternoon, Nigerians. You are welcome to another edition. Good afternoon, Nigerians. You are welcome to another edition of Happening Around City, a program set out to analyze issues happening around cities in Nigeria. And on today's edition, we'll be toothcombing, analyzing the issue of EFCC versus former governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, who has now become a fugitive as a result of him running here and there to evade arrest. And to toothcomb the issue with me today is a prolific public analyst, social critic, Nicolas Unwachukwu, that will be talking about the issue. And I also have with me in the studio Mustafa Oyin Consola. Mustafa, welcome our guest.
Thank you. Good afternoon, viewers. Welcome for joining us. And welcome. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Nicolas. I hope you guys enjoy the program.
Yeah. Thank you, NSTV. Thank you, Nigerians. Thank you, listeners. It's nice being here.
Okay, Nicolas, exactly. Former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello, the one who calls himself the wise lion, is afraid of the eagle. Why?
Well, we could look at the issue from different sources. First of all, let's go scriptural. The Bible says the wicked run when no one chases him. Secondly, we can also look at the issue surrounding how he came into office. Abubakar Audu was the chosen candidate, but faith through death did not allow him get into the office. And Justice Halima Mohammed, in a tribunal, said since Falaki, who was the deputy to Audu, did not contest the primaries, he was not qualified to take over the state. So many Nigerians at that time felt the second person who won that election, who the people gave their mandates most after the number one, should have been sworn in. But the legal team of a three-man panel headed by Justice Halima Mohammed deemed that the number two, who had won the primaries, even though he didn't contest the election, should be handed the state power. And for 8 years, every Nigerian, according to Festus Adedayo of Flickers of Tribune, he said Yahaya Bello became the perfect example of who a leader should not be. And it's unfortunate he has in his envoy a son and about 500 lawyers. And that should be about 10 platoons.
If you to the Nigerian army.
Yes, it should be at least 10 platoons protesting and defending him.
A single person
in Abuja. So when they should be asking of were roads built, were hospitals built, why were salaries paid? I mean, it's a digital age, and from anywhere in the world you could follow any issue you want to follow. So if he's a man and like most of the governors in Kogi, they like the epithet lion. Even Abubakar Audu called himself Lion of the Niger.
Okay.
So now Yahaya Bello is saying he's a white lion.
White lion. And that is afraid of the eagle.
You understand? So let's see how far he can run. But lions don't run. And when they run, they go for the prey. So, but it's unfortunate. Yahaya Bello can't run too far. It's a small world. And if the Nigerian government can smoke out Nnamdi from Kenya, I believe they will get him soon, and it's better for him to come like Fayoshe and those who have Oisametu to come and answer for his stewardship for 8 years. I went to Emir Sanusi, the former of Kano. It is not out of place for Nigerians to ask questions after we have entrusted our lives, our patrimony, to a governor, the deputy, and the commissioners.
But why was it possible for Yahaya Bello to have been doing all this all the while, and the states and those who are there are not asking questions? 80 billion money laundered, money that would have been of good advantage to citizens of Kogi State.
Don't forget, first of all, he removed his deputy and swore in the one Edward Onoja. Don't forget that one of the justices, I think the chief judge, in conjunction with the state judiciary, he also removed him. So he had muzzled the state apparatus and almost became a dictator.
A lord of the mayor.
He almost became a dictator. You understand? And like if you remember Obe, Oba, Taloma Mumi, Shiroti, Oluambe. So, for our non-Yoruba listeners, Yabelo was acting like who was speaking like who will come after
arrest him, who can put him
but
to
he forgot
question.
that there was a God. Just the way Obasanjo said, the late Senator Kekashamo, may so rest in peace. He said, Senator Kekashamo evaded the long arm of the law, but he could not evade the God of justice. You understand what I'm saying? And even if you look at his book, My Watch, he said Atiku controlled the judiciary, the state governors, and the assembly, but he could not control the thinking of God. And thank God we have a strong man in the AFC, Caleb Oluyode, who is a lawyer. And you could see that he wants to work. He almost wants to remind you of Rebadi when he was AFC director. Yeah. And he has said that if he will not get this case to a logical conclusion, he would resign. Yeah. So I think Nigerians, in fact, left for me, the military clause should not even exist for even serving governors. And don't forget that Gani Fairemi, that was one of his last battles before his death. Because this immunity gives them so much power. And of democracy, of Plato, of Aristotle, of Montesquieu, and the leading fathers of thought in democratic theories.
Thank for that. The man that succeeded in bringing the leeway for Yaya Bello to escape from his residence in Abuja, the current governor Ododo. What exactly should be meted to him for using his own immunity to allow Yaya Bello to escape?
Ododo is consanguineous to Yaya Bello. They are first cousins. And if we are to follow a rumor that is strong, it's like Mrs. Bello wants him to even marry his sister so that she will become the first lady.
But want to turn everything to family affair.
To a family affair, and you are taking us back to Congo's Emperor Bokasas. You are taking us back to Uganda's Idi Amin's Uganda. But this is a democracy, and we are in the 24th year of our democracy. This country has produced people like Oputa, Akanibian, Awolowo, Zeke, Okadego, Esho, great minds, fine minds that have handled issues. Unwachukwu was in the Commonwealth. So bringing us back to an area of white lion, black baboon, purple wolf, that is not democracy. Democracy is about human beings. It's about rule of law. It's about equality under the law. It's about equity, transparency, accountability. It's about welfare. I've been to Kogi State. In fact, my best friend, Caleb Atayi Yusufi, is a Kogi man from Ogodo in Kogi State. And I've traveled around the state by God's grace and divine providence. Kogi State is a state that there is room for improvement. But when you see somebody having 80 billion naira, the wife having 30 billion, the son also having
and even the nephew.
And from Ogodo to Anyingba to Ijimu to Oju, these are regions that need lights, need water, need development. They don't want oil wells. They don't want to go to Dubai. They don't want to be shareholders in Dangote's refinery or in Elumelis UBA. They just want the basics. But for Ododo, only his political hotspots to protect Yabelo. And for an EFCC that had gone to Okocha's house, shooting and breaking the roofs, and getting him to not be stranded, it appears like there are different class of citizens in the republic.
If I may take you up on that, it seems the new S-man at EFCC is trying to be very cool with his job, because like he said there will have been bloodshed if he came with about 100 men of the operatives of the EFCC and they met about 200 policemen on ground. Had it been that his own operatives succeeded in entangling the security on ground at Yaya Bello's house, there would have been a bloodshed. He said he only took the normal thing just to avoid bloodshed. What do you have to take on that?
Well, as someone
Judging
who
by the
is-
fact that the occurrential scale that you just put side by side.
obviously there was a homework that was not done well. When the DSS wanted to pick up Abaribe, they knew where they could get him. When they wanted to go to Afaruku in Umahia to get Nnamdi Kanu, they went there with the army. They were fortified. When they went to Soka in Ibadan to pick Igboho, they tried to get his men down and even got his favorite cats. Of course, 100 men against 200 men. But if they exchanged reports, the EFCC, the police, the DSS, the civil defense, they would have gone there with more men and more arms. And there would have been nothing Ododo would have done. But Ododo, of course, when they're hiding with his immunity, got more men. So he was faster. And for Caleb Oluode and in Abuja with his men, I mean, that is a letdown for him and his operatives.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, is there any way like this corruption and money laundering, like is there a way to stop it, put an end to it in Nigeria, like by the governors and the high officials, like politicians?
Well, that is like asking if we can eliminate adultery or teenage pregnancy. But what great democracies have done is to make their judicial systems strong, is to have an independent police system, is to have an educated electorate, so that the people will be questioned from the ward, from the local governments, from the senatorial zones, and from the gubernatorial zones. As a matter of fact, in developed climes, people are questioned. Heads of agencies, heads of parastatals, because you just can't stand over people's life, their future, their policies, their patrimonies, and you and your family just become rich and the people get poorer. According to Dele Shoboale, if you went through Saturday or Sunday's Vanguard, page 31, he said the poor is getting poorer. Sorry, the rich is getting richer and the poor is getting slaughtered. Years ago, the poor was getting
They are
poorer,
no longer
but
getting
now they're
poorer.
getting slaughtered.
They are being killed.
Because the national grid is collapsed, they are being maimed, they are being raped, they are denied their pensions, they don't get drugs. Even the federal schools, their school fees are now outrageous. And now you can see that even the bullying, these men are even transferring their wickedness to their children in their schools. Like the case of the bullying on a certain Bwala.
Yeah.
And you could see the anger of one of the parents slapping the oppressor. Not that was right anyway. But you could see the motherly instinct, the motherly rage in her. You understand what I'm saying? So wiping corruption is like saying you want to wipe sin, or wiping women from trying to go out without their makeups. It's almost difficult. But sinner climbs, even by African standards. Ethiopia is a great example. Ghana is close to us here. Rwanda in 94 had a genocide. But you cannot but marvel with what Kagame has done in that state. And you could see their spokespersons, proud of the country, proud of the people, proud of their institutions. You know, politics is like football. If you have bad coaches, bad players, even with a good fan base, a good medical team, something will be wrong somewhere.
Does it mean we've not been having the necessary and good leadership that Nigerians deserve?
No, when people kill, maim, carry out traditional festivals to stop our female officials, female members of INEC to go to conduct elections, we cannot have reformers. That system would only bring kakistocrats. Kakistocrats is the noun of the adjective or adverb kakistocracy. But when the elections are free and fair, and the people decide who lead them, there can be people in such a system. The government fears the people. But when the people fear the government, that is autocracy. At least, at best, totalitarianism.
Now, on the issue of the CSOs, civil society organization,
Okay.
becoming the mouthpiece and protesting over the way Yaya Bello was being run after by the EFCC when as CSOs that everybody know to be up and doing become a mouthpiece for such a fugitive.
They are CSOs and they are CSOs. They are lawyers and they are lawyers.
Exactly. The one that
Yeah.
baffled me is the Center for Anti-Corruption and Open Leadership, led
CACO.
by CACO, led by Debo Adeniran. What's your take on this?
You know one unique thing about Gani Fawehinmi was that for him, anywhere there was injustice, Gani was moved. Whether it was in the north, in the south, in the east, whether it was the soldiers who were victimizing civilians, whether it was soldiers who were unpaid, you will see Gani there. Even at the time, Gani took the MBA to court. Now, don't forget that when Salisu Buhari went into office, the former speaker
of
when we began our democracy in
1999,
he was accused for certificate forgery.
Exactly.
And you know what he did? He went to pick the most powerful lawyer in the land, F.R.A. Williams, may he rest in peace. And when Tel, in the front page, put Salisu Buhari there and said, the face of a liar.
I still remember the edition very well.
You know what Salisu Buhari did? Salisu went to meet F.R.A. Williams. Don't forget, that man is the only man in Nigeria that his 5 sons are sons. So he was powerful. I think he was one of the first sons, and for decades they determined who will become son. And he stood with the government from the military down to the civilian, and I think he was the richest lawyer in his lifetime. F.R. Williams sued Tel for 500 million naira then, if you remember. And Gani said, let us meet in court. So they are lawyers and they are lawyers. Those who benefit from Nebuchadnezzar will defend Nebuchadnezzar. But for every Nebuchadnezzar, there's a Daniel. For every Potiphar, there's a Joseph. So maybe for Kako, there's a Seraph. And don't forget, I think we should even be more moved by the lawyers, 500 of them, who have gone to defend Yabelo. And they did not bother about what happened to Natasha Akpoti, whose road leading to her constituency was excavated on the election eve. They didn't ask, including the members of FIDA, and luckily we have a female journalist here, who should have been bothered about Natasha, the SDP woman, the PDP woman leader, who was burnt to death. And I expect FIDA and every female lawyer in this country to be more aggressive towards issues that relate to women in this country. But now we have 500 lawyers leaving their chambers, leaving other cases in the state, in the city, in the constituency, that they could to defend a billionaire with a billionaire wife and a billionaire son. You understand?
Yeah.
So, Kako, in the past 2 decades, they have done great things, but Kako is not a synonym for heaven. So it's possible the new leader might have gotten some brand envelopes from Yabelo.
Okay, thanks for that, Mr. Nicolas Unwachukwu. Let's take a break and we'll be back right later.
Welcome back from the commercial break. We are still on Happening Around City on NSTV. If you are just joining us, we are talking about the issue between Yaya Bello, the former Kogi State Governor, and the EFCC. And our guest here is enlightening us about what is happening. Thank you, Mr.
Nicolas Unwachukwu. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, so according to what we have been saying, what do you think are the possible things that could happen to
the former governor
of
Kogi State, Yaya Bello?
What do you, if he later turns himself into the government? What do you think?
And what lesson they are in for governors?
Yeah, so thank you very much. Yeah, 2 or 3 things. If it's a political witch hunt, like the Dasoki Gates, the Mefele Gate, the El Zazaki, he will be squeezed from his hole wherever he is on earth, and he will be in jail. But if you want to look at the socio-economic status of the person, which sometimes the judiciary is concerned about, he may have a plea bargain, and he may go scot-free, like Odili had a. Yeah, of course. In this country, we had an orderly that even sought a perpetual injunction. And if you watch now, even his son, his counsel is saying that the EFCC is an illegal organization because it was not ratified by the 36 states.
governors.
So, according to Kubana, money in water. Bobrisky is in jail, but Kubana is free. And the whole world saw what they all did. Just like Senator Elisha Bello. We saw him punching a nursing mother. But the court in Abuja told us that they had no evidence. So sometimes the law in a checkered democracy is too strong for the weak and too weak for the strong. And if the governor, if the president think he's too ambitious and a part of the APC that wants to usurp his powers, knowing that he was not his preferred candidate in the Kogi state election, then you'll be amazed how fast our judiciary can work. And he might join Nnamdi Kanu and others in jail.
But why the EFCC S-man was addressing the press during the week, he talked about that when he called on Yaya Bello, when he gave the summon, first, second, and third time, Yaya Bello refused to show up, and he was giving excuse that there was a woman who is set to embarrass him in case it comes to EFCC. And I later found out that he was talking about Senator Natasha Akpoti Idua. What might have caused Yaya Bello's fear about just the woman? About the woman? What might have caused his fear?
Yaya Bello was a nightmare to Natasha Akpoti and her constituency. But the people stood with her, and she won the election after going to court. She was an example of an Amazon. Obviously, Yaya Bello is scared of being incarcerated. Rich men who can't stay without comfort. But Apostle Paul in the Bible went to jail. Mandela was in jail. Ojukwu was in jail. Even Obasanjo was in jail. So if he's innocent, his lawyers will argue with him. But if he's not, according to Barrister Bani, even he spent 19 days in jail, even though he was innocent. So Yaya Bello he's not a minor. If he's a white lion, he should come and face the FCC and stop behaving like a white fowl.
Come and face the eagle.
But the way I see the EFCC and the eagle, I think he has become a white fowl that will be sacrificed. And the president is calling for sacrifices. So maybe this is one scapegoat from the upper class, the upper echelon, that can maybe console the poor and the vulnerable, or those we call the.
On the issue of security operatives on both sides, who exactly should their loyalty be to? Is it a sitting governor or those that are paying them? The federal government.
In a democracy, the loyalty.
I think by virtue of what happened at Yaya Bello's house.
In a democracy, no matter how tall we are, the rule of law should be taller. No matter, in fact, the office of the citizen should be the highest office in the land. These men are servants of the people. No matter how they appear mighty, they should be governed by the dictates of the rule of law. The error the EFCC did was not to go there with a strong reinforcement of the police. Obviously, the serving governor is entitled to security. We don't want our governors and senators to be killed by like chickens on the street.
Somehow.
But the rights and legal thing to have been done was for the IG to have informed the CP of the Kogi State or the CP in Abuja that we need the presence of the former governor of the state. As a matter of fact, most former governors should not even be with police retinue.
Yeah.
We need more policemen in our cities, in our capitals, in our villages. Instead of going with retired governors who looted the states dry. So there should have been the warrant of arrest should have come from the police. But when you see policemen fighting policemen, it shows the failure of cohesion in our security interagency forces, and it's wrong. But I know that the DSS that went to Afaroku to capture Nnamdi Kanu, that went to Soka to try and capture Sonebo, that went to the Abuja residence of Okorocha, they could have, that even called the army and the police to stop the insurrection or the coup in Ibadan last 3 weeks.
Of the
if they wanted to have captured Yaya Bello, they should have, instead of giving Nigerians so much work and the immigration and asking us to help them capture Yaya Bello, when Nigerians are waking up trying to look for food and water and light under a collapsed grid. That is why they are paid. That is why they are paid. That's why they are trained. And that's why we respect them.
That's why we respect the Nigerian security operatives. They should allow and do the right thing at the right time. It's on this note that I'll be calling it a day on happening around the city, a program set out to analyze come issue around the cities in Nigeria. It's been a good day having a prolific public analyst, Mr. Nicolas Unwachukwu in the studio, and Mustafa Oyin Consola. Yeah, what do you have to say to our guest?
Thank you very much for enlightening us about this issue and to have more this program with you. Thank you very much for wearing and joining us on this program. So we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Bye bye, Nigerians. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's a privilege to be here. Thank you very much.